Who knew Walmart Business could help a thriving office motivate their employees? Pamela knew. She uses Walmart Business to get the assortment of items her team needs at the prices she loves.
As the office manager, it's my job to make sure my team stays on top of their game. I can get the basics like cleaning supplies and paper towels, but what they really care about, snacks.
And she can get everything they need when they need it.
Greg loves wheat crackers, Brenda craves sour candy, and Max, oh boy, he needs protein bars and milk and applesauce
It's Walmart,
and jerky.
built for your business. Who knew?
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistant's assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's Bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tech Magic, the podcast where we talk about innovation, technology, artificial intelligence, gaming, and everything in between. I am your host, Cathy Hackl, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Lee Kebler. Lee, how you doing?
Hanging in there, I think, like the rest of the world. But we've got some pretty nice weather. It's okay. I've spent some time out in the sunshine, a lot of walks lately. trying to make sense of it all.
Trying to make sense of the world. Yeah. I get it. I get it.
Just doing the thing. You're back in your studio.
I am. I'm back home after a whirlwind week and a half of travel. It's been a lot. So I'll fill everyone in because I missed last week, right? I wasn't able to join y'all. So thanks, ADM, Adam, for joining and stepping in and being a part of the show. So yeah, I went to TED, the big TED conference. So people know probably TEDx. They probably might have gone to a TEDx or done a TEDx talk. Well, there's like the big TED, which has been happening in Vancouver for the last couple of years. And I went to Vancouver for that.
You got to experience some of like our weather.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Oh my gosh, it was beautiful. The weather was beautiful. I have to tell you, I was like, ooh, this looks very appealing right now. Beautiful, beautiful. I had a fantastic time. I will tell you, my friend James Andrews, who's a part of the Summit community and the TED community, big shout out to him. He introduced me to a lot of people. So now I'm part of the TED, the TED community.
Are you a TEDite? Is that a word?
Yeah.
A TEDster, whatever.
I'm a TED cool kid. That's really what I am. But
a Teddy.
Yeah. But that event was everything I was hoping it would be. It's a whole week, literally, because it goes from Monday to Friday. It's a whole week of talks and events and just amazing conversations with people.
Now, let's get a little geopolitical here, because you're going to Vancouver, Canada, which is back and forth with us. Tariffs, will they, won't they? Yeah. It's like watching an episode of Friends with Ross and Rachel at this point. And we're trying to do all of this. It's impacting technology. So you're there for a technology-driven conference that's really big, but you're on the other side of the line. What's going on while all this is happening?
Definitely, there was a lot of conversation around tariffs, political and geopolitical issues. That was a big, big thing. I mean, there were several speakers on stage that had different perspectives. I mean, we had everyone from Palmer Luckey, right, on stage, to Carol Caldwell, who is a journalist that actually did a talk there a couple of years ago, and she was in this big lawsuit, and she did a really impactful talk that started off, well, I'll be honest, who started TED? It was a humanoid robot called Neo who opened up the show. He walked on stage. I shared a video on LinkedIn. But the feeling was, we'll talk about that in a bit, but definitely you could feel the tension. You could feel kind of the questions, what I did sense, this was really interesting to me. What I did sense was a push for buy Canadian or proud Canadian brand.
Yeah.
So definitely saw some of that on like outside on ads, but then I was watching the news and an advertisement came up for a Canadian fast food chain called Boston Pizza. It's Canadian.
Okay.
It's called Boston Pizza.
All right.
And throughout the ad, it literally said proud Canadian brand or like created in Canada or like I think that because their name is Boston Pizza.
Yeah.
Right? They were making a point that they were a Canadian brand, which they are because we don't have, I mean, I've never heard of Boston Pizza. I mean,
because when I think pizza, I think Boston.
Of course, I think Boston. So that was interesting to see that in ads. Like I saw that in several physical stores, which had like Buy Canadian or et cetera. But then I'm watching TV and like they are making a point that this is a Canadian brand. I was like, okay, interesting. So definitely seeing that from a way to fight against maybe some of the situations, the tariffs or things like that push towards Buy Canadian. So that was interesting for me to see in that perspective, right? Yeah. But other than that, I will tell you the experience was fantastic. There were robots on stage. Like I said, humanoid robot Neo that opened up the...
Sam Altman was there, wasn't he?
Sam Altman was there. So I'll give you a rundown. Day 2, we actually had...
That made it sound like I thought Sam Altman was a robot. That's not what I mean.
No. Real Sam Altman was there. Yeah, real Sam Altman was there. But I'll tell you, on day 2, we had Palmer Luckey, like I mentioned. We also had one of the VPs and GMs of Google XR, and they demoed their new XR glasses.
The new glasses, yeah.
Which actually are glasses. They did some really cool demos on stage about translating and stuff. The thing here that was different is it had memory. It had memory. The glasses, something that we had never seen there, like it had memory because the woman that was doing the demo said something like, do you remember where this book is? And the glasses told her, if you look back, it'll be on the 3rd shelf, 4th book to the right, blue cover or something, right? So it had memory, those are 2 things. That was truly impressive for me to see. Roblox was also there. They did a demo of 3D AI gaming engine. There was just so many speakers. And the last day, and this is news to most of the people listening to the pod, I actually was on the TED stage.
I saw that.
On the last day. On the last day, they have something called Town Hall. And they invite a couple of people, probably we were, 10 people maybe, from the whole community that were there to either respond to a talk that they saw or talk about something related to the conference. And you had to kind of like submit your ideas. What I did is I kept hearing people saying that they fell in love at TED. Like, oh, we met at TED, or like on stage, one of the speakers, Yancey Strickler, talked about how he met one of the things he said, his talk wasn't about that. But I kept hearing, we met at TED. So I ran an AI matchmaking experiment using the Matchbox algorithm, which is a viral algorithm used to match people in physical spaces. I ran an experiment. So, for people that are interested, basically, this is what happened. We got 9 people, 9 souls, 9 brave souls were part of the experiment.
And one robot.
And one robot. No robot, but yeah. 9 brave souls signed up, mostly women. There were 2 couples that were matched, and one of them had like 100% score. I got 0 match. Like I was not matched because there were only 9. So 1 people had to be left out. So I did not find my Mr. Right, but that's okay. So it's okay. But I did that experiment and a lot of people heard about it. A lot of people were scared to do it. I get the sense. But a lot of people heard about it. So then they were like, oh my gosh, tell us what happened. So I got on stage for about a minute and a half on the TED stage. So I'm a TED speaker.
Hey, there you go.
I'm a TED speaker.
Update your LinkedIn.
I know. I'm so excited. But I have a feeling that maybe in the future they'll ask me to come back and talk about relationships and technology and all that stuff. So that was the last day. But right after, we had Eric Schmidt from, the former CEO of Google and now Relativity Space, speaking about the AI revolution is underhyped. And the funny thing is I had just been with Eric at the Nokia Bell Labs Centennial celebration, which I co-hosted and I spoke to you guys about in New Jersey, Murray Hill, New Jersey at Bell Labs.
Now, I do want to interject here really quickly for our listeners. What you're hearing is correct. Your timeline's not screwed up. Cathy went to the TED conference in Vancouver, BC, and then got on an airplane and flew to New York, did her little thing, got back on an airplane and flew all the way back to Vancouver to finish TED. Oh, you're nuts.
Well, I know, I'm savage. I'm savage that way. But it was worth flying back because I got on stage, right? The funny thing is then Eric Schmidt speaks that day too. So I'm like, man, I should have just gotten a ride on his plane. Of course that didn't happen. I wish, of course. But then he had a really good talk. And then Sam Altman did a talk the Sam Altman talk is actually making waves because
that was a little, there's some things we need to talk about that. I saw that.
Why don't we leave that for further in the show? Because I feel we need to talk about OpenAI quite a bit. And I need to tell you about his reaction to IP. Pretty crazy. I said you that. But yeah, guys, I was on the TED stage. And get this, Lee. So just to fill everyone in, I'm crazy like that. Okay, Vancouver, New Jersey to Vancouver to DC, spend 2 nights here, and then I do DC back to New Jersey, back to Bell Labs, and I'll tell everyone why, and then back to DC. But now I have 10 days of no travel. So
I don't believe you.
No, really.
No. I believe you. I believe you believe that. I do. I hear the words you're saying, and I believe you believe yourself. But I don't believe you will go 10 days without traveling. Absolutely not.
I'm going to be like itching to get back on the plane by the 10th day. I know myself. Right now, I'm like, I don't want to see a plane. But yeah.
I give it until Monday.
You give me a week?
I give you a week. Tops. I'm being generous.
But I'll tell you what I was doing in New Jersey again. I am actually super excited because I'm partnering with Nokia and Nokia Bell Labs. I was there because I am working with them as a futurist in residence with Nokia. And I was getting a behind the scenes tour, VIP tour of Nokia Bell Labs and all the amazing work that they have done there. I mean, Bell Labs, for anyone that doesn't know what Bell Labs is, because there are some people out there might not know, Bell Labs is pretty much, has been one of the world's top research and innovation labs ever. I mean, anything you can imagine was created there. Our careers, Lee, yours and mine, would not exist without Bell Labs.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, memory serves, it goes all the way back to Alexander Graham Bell, who invented the telephone. So the fact that we're even talking right now goes back to Bell Labs.
Bell Labs. So the transistor, I mean, if we didn't have transistors, where would we be? You know, C++, Unix, tons of discoveries were happened there. I mean, everyone from Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, was an intern at Bell Labs, to Jan LeCun, he was a researcher at Bell Labs. They had a certain amount of Nobel laureates, a certain amount of Turing Award winners. I mean, there's very few places in the world that can say they've achieved what Bell Labs has. And you know, hats off to all the folks there. I had an amazing tour. And I'll be sharing more about the things that I saw because you would be blown away. Like, Lee, the things that they are currently working on, from quantum to AI to sensing to robots and spatial, my goodness. Like, I don't think people have an idea of I think people do, but actually getting to see it and experience it one-on-one was, I don't know, hats off. Hats off to Nokia Bell Labs.
I just want a hoverboard. Is that really so much to ask? I just want a hoverboard. That's what I want.
Well, how about a cell phone in space? But okay.
I don't want to go to I'm not going to go to space to use a cell phone. I don't need a cell phone in space.
Wouldn't you want to call your wife when you're in space, though?
I ain't going to space.
Well, what if she goes to space? Don't you want her to call you?
I guess, yeah. But
see?
I don't think she's going to go to space either.
Are you sure? I don't know.
If she's going to space, it's to get away from me. So she probably
maybe she does want to go to space, Lee. I don't know. I should talk to Cassie and find out.
She's like, I need some space. Boom, she gets on a rocket. She's gone.
She's like, bye, babe. So anyway, but I'll definitely be talking a lot more about the futurist in residence work that I'm doing with Nokia.
That's awesome.
And I'm super excited. But let's get to the news.
Yes.
So much happening. I felt disconnected, but some of the news did happen at TED. So
we covered quite a bit. We talked about the Google glasses and how that, was being perceived. We did talk a bit about Sam Altman and OpenAI. We didn't get deep into that because it had just happened, but there's a lot happening with OpenAI and ChatGPT in this week that kind of stems back to a large part of that. I want to jump ahead because we're going to have to spend some time on the OpenAI. I want to hear more about the Roblox generative tool because I didn't expect them to be at TED. So let's jump into that. And it leads into a really interesting story right now that goes all the way to Meta. So I'm just going to tell me a little bit about that because that I think flew under the radar for a lot of news articles.
I'll tell you that Tuesday, the session. So each one of the sessions was named after a movie in this specific TED, right? So the session was called iRobot and it was curated by Bilawal Sidhu, Billy BFX, but many people know him by that name. But he is the host of the TED AI podcast. And he curated the iRobot kind of sessions. And like I said, that had Palmer Luckey. It had one of the chief product officers from Maxar talk about geospatial AI. And then they had Roblox talking about AI and 3D creation of experiences in virtual worlds. So they were demoing in real time this 3D creation and AI-driven world builder for Roblox. So people would throw out prompts and they would say, build, this type of experience. And then he would play it with this other person in real time. So yeah, just very focused on the future of gaming and the future of how AI and 3D kind of merge together to create these experiences. So it was pretty awesome. I mean, it was kind of real time.
Well, just on the cusp of that, today we had news break that Meta's Horizon tool, their world building tool, now has an AI aspect to generate their 3D worlds from text. So
heavens.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it's hard to build Horizon.
Right. This might actually make Horizon. So a big part of the reason why Horizon, there's a lot of reasons why Horizon has had a slow start, but a big part of it was actually like graphical capabilities, because for the last, 5 years, however long it's been out, it's been pretty much geometric shapes that you kind of had to staple together.
Circle.
Yeah, and you kind of like had to make your stuff in there. But now their AI tool, which has been implemented into their desktop editor, allows creators to generate 3D models, textures, skyboxes. So like what's happening in the background. So if you want an astronaut background or whatever, flying unicorns, you can just do that from a text prompt now. This is really going to streamline the 3D world building process, which has been difficult for Meta. For a long time, Meta Horizons could only be edited and created inside of a headset. And that is, I understand in theory why people want that, but in practice, it is laborious and very uncomfortable. So this is going to generate worlds a lot faster on that platform. Now, will it flood the platform? I'm not sure. And I have the same questions for Roblox, right? Like there is something to be said for quality and the barrier of entry, right? So I'm going to go and develop these worlds. I have this idea for a game or a world in my head. I want to go on Roblox or Horizons or wherever and generate this world. Okay, that's all fine and good. But if I can do that so quickly, it will not surprise me if the term AI slop is not the word for 2025, right? Like, Merriam Dictionary always like, here's...
Oh my gosh, we still have so many more months. It could be tariff. It could be so many other words, Lee. I don't know. I hold judgment on the word of the year, but
I just see AI slop everywhere. And I do have concern about that when it comes to like these virtual 3D worlds. As
that's a good point. Yeah.
These gaming engines can do that. How many...
And explain to folks what AI slop is, because you and I know what it means.
Functionally, it is exactly what you think it is. It's just poorly thrown together AI for whatever text, right? I'm making a flyer for my pizza store and I need to put a graphic on it. I go to ChatGPT and I ask it for a graphic in it. Whatever the first graphic it pulls out, I don't even like look at it to see if it's correct. And it goes on there. And then all of a sudden my pizza flyer is out there, but instead of pepperonis, it's got tiny little houses on it, right? Because you just didn't look, like the person didn't care. It's just poorly generated AI content. This has to be something that ends up happening inside of like these world creation tools. And if the person who's building the world is not discerning to like look at what they're doing, who knows what's going to fall into this stuff. I just am a little worried about the mass floodgate that could open, that all of a sudden makes it really hard to find good content. Because Roblox, for better or for worse, is a curated process. You and I both know this. And anyone can build a world and put it up there. But based on how it does and its feedback or partnerships or sponsorships or whatever, that world ends up with better placement. Mm-hmm. And it can do that because while, yes, worlds are rapidly being created onside that platform, there is a bit of a barrier of entry. You remove that, and I'm just thinking it's going to be like falling out of the sky. And it could just end up being too much. Here's a good example. Spotify is dealing with this right now. I know that.
That's a good point. That is a good point, though.
Yes.
100%. Yes, I agree with you on that.
Spotify's got a real issue. For a lot of listeners, they just like, wait, I thought he was talking about VR. No, I'm talking about digital asset creation. So Spotify, which everyone knows what Spotify is, streaming for all of your music, they thought allowing anyone to get onto their platform was a good idea because it's a mass and all, rising tides raise all ships type thing. But they've got so many musicians uploading garbage music that they have to pay the service space for, right? The server space and all of that. And it's not getting any plays, and therefore it's flooding their technological ecosystem, and they're choking. So this is becoming a real problem. Now, I think what we will see is Spotify have to call out some of okay, if your stuff hasn't been getting plays, we're just going to toss it. And a lot of artists are going to have problems with that. It's going to hurt a lot of feelings. But I kind of get the problem. I kind of get it. But it becomes a manual process now that they have to deal with. I think 2015 was the year where we thought, hey, just give us as much data as you can, and there's no such thing as bad data. And now Spotify's like, there's bad data because there's bad music.
Yeah. No.
Art is subjective, but not that subjective type thing. I just see that coming. It could be a real issue for any platform that is touting generative tools to create UGC, user-generated content. So, yeah, we'll see how that plays out.
We'll have to see. But definitely interesting in the gaming front. I mean, I want to take that Horizons building tool for a test drive.
Oh, I think it's available now. Yeah.
Is it like Meta? Like, is it Meta? Build me blah, blah, blah. Is it like a Meta AI, or is it just...
It's a text-based prompt. Yeah, it is. It's text-based, but the fact that it can spit out a texture or a three-dimensional object, that is, as someone who has been in the previs business, pre-visualization 3D objects since about 2015, the ability, I don't think people really understand how hard it is to generate three-dimensional objects that aren't just like rudimentary shapes. This could be big. It could also be taxing. So I'm assuming there's some type of safeguard rails that, okay, I want to generate a dragon. Well, it generates a low poly dragon because it could, like, a low polygon count, not a lot of like shapes and corners and stuff like that, because that can tank a system. Yeah. So I'd be very interested to know how detailed of an object, like, it can probably do as detailed as you want, but surely they've put up guardrails to say only go this far with your fidelity. So it will be something that I download and check out for sure.
And other news related to Meta. So there are, well, not related to Meta, but kind of Apple. There are rumors that Apple Vision Pro 2 might be coming sooner than we think.
A couple different versions I've heard.
Yeah. What have you heard? Tell me.
Well, there's just been a couple of applications that have gone through that showed different versions. That does not mean we're going to get all of them. We could only get one. We could get maybe a Pro and a Lite. That would be very Apple to say,
that would be very Apple, right?
Here's a Pro and here's a Lite version.
And an XR and a Pro Max. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's been talks about them wanting to get into the glasses, arena, which to me has been, I get it, but it's kind of shocking too at the same time, right? Like,
they should do it. They should, by all means. I mean, they have a lot of knowledge and learning from the Vision Pro. I mean, some of the things the Vision Pro does really well, right? It hasn't been the success we wanted it to be, but I think they should definitely go in on glasses. I mean, it's about the Vision OS at the end of the day, in my perspective. So it's not so much with hardware.
I'm surprised to hear you say this because you're the fashion person, not myself, right? But I totally understand that the Meta Ray-Bans work because it's Ray-Bans, and I've not heard who they would be partnering with if it were Apple. But my question is, have the Meta Ray-Bans, they've been successful, but have they been successful enough to convince Apple to make a new product? Because Apple doesn't make new products on a whim. You know what I mean? Like,
well, they've been working on that for a while. Come on. Like,
sure.
Plus, I don't know. I believe the iPhone is an accessory. I feel the iPhone, I've got, maybe not so much anymore because everyone can afford, not everyone. Okay, no, let's take a step back. Not everyone can afford an iPhone.
Wait, let's give tariffs about 30 seconds and see if any of us can.
Like, what phones do most billionaires use? Let's be honest. Probably Apple. Some will use Google, I'm sure. If they're Sergey Brin or, if they own Google, they're probably using an Android phone. Or, I'm sure Mark Zuckerberg probably uses an, Android phone. But I would assume that most high net worth individuals in the world have an iPhone, So I believe there is a status related to Apple products. And
I don't know. That's a very US centric way of thinking about
that's a good point.
Wealthy people.
That's a good point. It is very US centric. You're right about that.
Yeah. I'm gonna call out your bias a little bit here.
Call out my bias, but I'm gonna call in your bias. because we're talking before the show and I'm like, oh my gosh, I heard TikTok might be launching glasses. And then you're like, well, I don't know if TikTok's going to be around. Maybe not in the US, TBD.
Okay,
but
yeah, that's
TikTok's
true.
a massive monster outside the world.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
outside
I
of the
did
US.
say that. I did.
I'm going to call you out.
That you're right. I'll take that. I will take that. You're 100% right. I did
I'll
say
take
that.
your bias and race you another one.
I'm just, but wasn't that TikTok timeline TikToking? Like I thought that was.
They extended. I don't even know. They extended it. I don't know if China's going to negotiate now. Like it's so. I don't even know what to tell you. But I mean, at least computers are exempt for now.
For
right?
the next 30 seconds. You're talking about people affording iPhones. I don't think we're going to be able to afford iPhones in a year from now. Like I saw did you see the numbers? If we had to like move the creation of an iPhone,
it's like a $3,000 phone, right?
It's bananas.
It's a Vision Pro. It's the price of a Vision Pro. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That is not hilarious. I'm sorry, that's not hilarious. And you know how I emailed you shortly after all the tariff news, and I was like, Lee, should I go buy my new phone and computer? And you're like,
what'd I say?
You said absolutely. Because I was like, I was gonna wait till October because that's usually when I buy like new stuff. But then I was like, should I just buy it now? Buy a new computer and buy all this?
I have a ton of new audio gear that just got upgraded not because I think that tariffs are going to inherently bring the rise of of prices, but I can also see, even if they don't have it, because the idea has been placed that the market will take the opportunity to raise prices incrementally anyways and say, well, at least it's not as bad as if there were because I just don't trust that. Like, I mean, look, companies exist to make money, right? Like they're a profit margin thing. It's not about for the betterment of the buyer. It's like, how much are you
shareholders make shareholders happy? Yeah.
What's it worth? It's worth what someone will pay for it, right? So that's the whole goal. And this conversation, regardless of what actually pans out, I don't see how it ends with things not being at least a little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Cheaper they ain't getting.
Yeah.
We're not getting cheaper.
No.
Maybe only gas. And now eggs are a little cheaper than they used to be, but they're still expensive.
You know, we've not had an egg problem in Oregon.
What?
We didn't go through it.
It's from a lot of farms. Explain this to me. How do you not have an egg problem?
From the best that I can surmise, and this is just in Portland, Oregon. I'm sure if we go further out into more rural areas, it gets worse. But we have so many grocery stores. We have like 3-4 different grocery stores next to my house. We are spoiled for grocery store selection. Only one of them is a Kroger-owned store. One of them is Amazon, Whole Foods, and then we've got some smaller network grocers, and they had their own access to eggs. And they were the boutique, like kind of the really expensive grocery stores. And they had them. They just always had them, same price. That we never went through.
Were they getting them from Canada? I mean, you guys are relatively close.
You start getting into the outskirts of Oregon, it turns farmland really quickly. And I think a lot of them are local. Look, the truth is that anyone who ever watched the TV show Portlandia, it's a documentary. It's not a comedy. And so, yes, the city is very crunchy. It's very much into like, where are my free range chicken and eggs? So because of that, I think we just were naturally set up to just have that. I don't know. This is not here nor there when it comes to technology, but it is an interesting conversation about like just supply chain of certain geographical locations. And tech does fall into that, as we I was in Boise recently. I talked with some of the people who work at Micron. They do a lot of like chip manufacturing out here. We do a lot of chip manufacturing here. Now we're looking at NVIDIA. I don't know if you saw this, but NVIDIA's got a plan of $500 billion to invest in U.S. AI infrastructure. They're wanting to, this is over the next 4 years, let's be clear, but to manufacture advanced supercomputers domestically, specifically to counter new tariffs. So NVIDIA thinks that these are going to happen. And very well, we might be in a point, like you had said, you weren't sure where China was going to come to the table on this anymore because they are kind of upset. So if that's the case, whether we say JK no tariffs or not, they might just be like, we'll deal with it. We don't know. So NVIDIA seems to know something the rest of us don't know, and they're putting out $500 billion to bring domestic manufacturing for supercomputers here to the US. Now, wow, that sounds like, hey, maybe this plan's working. The flip side of it, however, there's an automation company called Formic Formic has a report that just came out saying there's a 17% increase in robot usage within U.S. factories for manufacturing in the face of tariffs as well. So, and now I will say their report focuses, of all places, on food and beverage sectors, which is super interesting. And this concept as robots as a service. I don't know if people are familiar with like software development, but we used to have something called SaaS, software as a service. Now they're looking at robots as a service. So all of this is to mitigate supply chain, rising costs, potential tariffs. The flip side to all of this is, okay, manufacturing starts costing us a lot more to move that manufacturing back to the US. We build these factories and then we're not putting people in these factories to actually work. So it's not really a job creation mechanism if it just goes back to robots. I don't have an answer here. I'm not an economist. I just follow the tech trends and report what I see.
Here's the scary thing, and this is a dystopian perspective. I tend to be the, glass half full kind of gal. So,
I'm here for it.
You're here for this one. In a conversation I was having with a friend, we're having, it's a moment. Tariffs are really throwing the whole world this is chaotic, right? I don't think anyone cannot agree with us. There is a level of chaos here, right? So that could potentially lead to companies laying off more people because there's less demand, less people are spending money, less confidence in economies, et cetera, right? So, and then you've got AI, kind of like you've got the CEO of Shopify, for example, talking about AI and not hiring a human if an AI can do something. You got Klarna saying they're doubling down on AI hiring, like on using AI instead of hiring. What if we're in this perfect negative storm of economic uncertainty and some level of chaos, right? That leads to massive layoffs and massive unemployment or what have you. And then you've got AI as well starting to create this kind of weird moment. What if, I don't know, it just seems pretty, I don't know. It could be pretty dystopic. And that's so not me. That is so not me, Lee, but I am concerned. So I don't know. I mean, I tend to be an optimist and I love AI.
I'm so proud. You got there.
So proud of me. I'm worried. I am worried.
Welcome to my side of the fence. The grass isn't greener.
Weren't you going to be like, no, Cathy, it'll be okay. I was expecting you to go the other way, but okay.
No, I think you're right.
Like, oh my God, I am so concerned. Like,
okay, so think about it like this.
I love AI though, so it's like, I don't know.
Honestly, I think this might be true. You and Will.i.am have one thing in common. Okay.
Ooh, bring it. We're friends with you. That's one thing.
You both hired me when something wasn't broken, and that's rare.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. But by and large in my career, and I think this is true for most people and people who are currently looking for a job and you're on LinkedIn and you're feeling really bad about yourself, but you got that interview and now they're going to, okay, maybe I'm going to take a little bit less money, but I just got to get this thing figured out. Oh, this sounds really, really good. Let me clarify as clear as a bell. No company right now is hiring you unless you have to go fix something that is severely broken. Mm-hmm. Point blank. No company is hiring out of goodwill. That's just not happening. If you're getting, every job out there right now is the last resort, because if there was a different, cheaper solution, they would be taking it. So if you can be excited about that new job, but you're going to be expected, it's going to be rough for at least a little bit. Maybe you have an expertise that makes it really easy. Congratulations. You beat the game, but people do not hire right now unless something is really broken. And I do think that you said something earlier about this concept of you feel like, or someone felt like the impact of AI was being undersold.
Underhyped. Yeah.
Underhyped. Good Lord. I hate the word hyped. I've really just learned to just kind of flinch when I hear it, but I do think there's some validity to it, but hype eludes that it's a positive. And I don't believe that. I think that what's being undersold is the impact it's about to have on companies removing people, but those companies are going to get a couple quarters into it and realize, whoopsie daisy, I actually really needed the people in those seats. And I've said this before. And as that happens, it's going to cause a lot of problems. I mean,
yeah. Well, and even for them, and then to your point, they are going to get a bump for a couple quarters.
Yeah.
But in the long term, if you replace everyone with a robot in a hypothetical dystopian way, then who is eventually going to buy your services and products if no one can afford to buy your services and products for the next quarter, the next quarter century? Like eventually, even if there's UBI as a solution, which has not been necessarily proven to be the solution, right? Yeah, I just wonder that. Like, I'm like, aren't we like, eventually if no one has a job and no one has money to spend on things. And I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but doesn't that impact the shareholders at the,
Well, okay, so there's some silver lining here. I'm of the camp that always believes that new technology, while it does remove jobs, it also creates new jobs that didn't exist before it, right? So whatever a new technology does, there's something else behind it, right? Once upon a time, my favorite thing is no one cries for the knocker-upper, and everyone's like, what's a knocker-upper? It was a job.
What is that?
Yeah, no, I say this all the time. No one weeps for the knocker-upper. The knocker-upper used to be a job where someone in your town would wake up before dawn, and then they had a schedule, and they would go to people's houses and knock on their doors to wake them up because there were no such thing as alarm clocks.
Here's your wake-up call.
Yeah, so this was your wake-up call. It was like the milkman, but it was just a guy with like a cane, and he would go and rap on your door until you woke up.
Did he have like a time for every door?
Yeah, like it was a service that you were paying for. It was a paid-for service. This was a real job. Look it up.
It's an alarm.
It's absolutely amazing. And yes, I recognize how ridiculous the term knocker-upper sounds, but it was a real job. And then clockwork happened. And all of a sudden, this poor guy with his knocker-upper cane doesn't have a job anymore. But how many clockwork makers came out of that? You see what I'm saying? So it did lead to a new opportunity. Technology did the same thing. A lot of automation led to people getting into computers and computer programming. And now AI is starting to do computer programming. So what's the next thing that people have to do?
And are we going to have enough jobs? Like, are there going to be...
I would say yes, if we could get our act together with education. And that is not happening.
Yes, then that is not happening. No.
And that's where it all falls apart. This is where we start that right there. And I don't remember who said this. And I'm sure someone who's listening can tell you, oh, I can attribute this quote. But someone once said that no country's ever lost by betting on education, and we are not betting on education. I don't know why.
Is China betting on education? Do you think they're
absolutely?
Okay,
100%. I remember the first time it really clicked. Like, oh, they're even taking technology into this. Where China bet on HTC to make VR headsets to teach. They had huge schools that were teaching automotive repair. And I remember seeing the photos and the videos of this and talking with HTC and being like, no, this is a China-based educational system. This was back in like 2018. I've never seen anything like that in the US. And then we're talking about vocational job training for an entire generation because they knew we got 1 billion people over here. We're making cars. Someone's got to be able to fix them. And not everything can be just done with a robot, which I believe is true. So they've got a workforce of automotive repair. We don't even have that.
Don't. Yeah.
There's a strong argument missing of like, yes, this is a problem if we do not get our education figured out. And I do not currently see that happening, but I can just sit here and cross my fingers and hope for the best, I guess.
Well, I think on that note, let's go on break. Let people take a little breather. We're going to break and then we'll come back and we're going to talk about the extinction and some animals that are being brought back from extinction. Crazy.
The knocker-upper. We're bringing them back.
The knocker-upper's coming back.
This message is brought to you by Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. And this is more than an ad. This is an invitation to be part of the stories the world can't stop watching, to connect with moments that dominate the conversation, to participate in culture, not just advertise around it. With the most sought-after IP, passionate audiences, and an advanced AI-powered foundation, WBD advertising transforms attention into influence and impressions into outcomes. This is innovation. This is impact. This is opportunity. This is Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. Visit advertising.wbd.com to learn more.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bull spend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Who knew Walmart Business could help a thriving office motivate their employees? Pamela knew. She uses Walmart Business to get the assortment of items her team needs at the prices she loves.
As the office manager, it's my job to make sure my team stays on top of their game. I can get the basics like cleaning supplies and paper towels, but what they really care about, snacks.
And she can get everything they need when they need it.
Greg loves wheat crackers, Brenda craves sour candy, and Max, oh boy, he needs protein bars and milk and applesauce
It's Walmart,
and turkey.
built for your business. Who knew?
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Form. But okay, let's go on break. All right, so not the knucker-upper, but my friend Ben Lamb, who is one of the co-founders of Colossal Bioscience. And Ben, I don't know if you ever met Ben. Ben used to be in the XR industry like a million years ago. Tech industry. I mean, I met him in the tech industry a million years ago.
There's a good chance.
You probably met Ben. But anyway, he went on to found, I remember when he went and founded Colossal Bioscience, and they were talking about bringing back the woolly mammoth. And people were like, Jurassic Park, oh my gosh, didn't they watch the movie? Well, they've been doing really interesting work, and they have brought the dire wolf, the white wolf.
Yes.
The dire wolf back from extinction. So they have done de-extinction on the dire wolf. There's some debate in the science world whether it is truly a dire wolf because it's not like a pure dire wolf. It's like a wolf expressing dire wolf traits, if you may. Like if you and they used dogs as surrogates for the pups, the dire wolf pups. So anyway, but they really focused on the extinction. I remember I saw him at Summit at Sea and introduced him to a couple. There was a CMO and a CEO that I introduced him to. And they were talking about the extinction or helping with preventing extinction of species in Asia and in Africa. So I think it's really interesting. Everyone always says, like, didn't they watch Jurassic Park? I am fascinated by Ben's work at Colossal Bioscience. I'm actually not too negative towards it. I'm interested in seeing what they're going to do.
It brings up an interesting question. I was talking with someone about this the other day. It's like loosely related to this. And that was growing up, I was like in high school when the whole Dolly the sheep cloning debate and all of that was happening. You remember that?
That feels like a million years ago. Yeah. The first time they cloned an animal. Right?
Yeah, it was a sheep called Dolly. Right.
Yeah.
And then they never talked about it again.
You can clone your dog. You know that, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Yes. The president of Argentina has, long story, but I'm not even going to get into the political parts of the dogs being his advisors, but he has a couple of dogs and each dog, like most of them are clones of his former dog. You can clone your dog. Like you can clone, it won't be Beanie coming back as Beanie because you can't clone the personality, right? And the expression, but it can look just like Beanie. You can clone your dog. That's not.
I didn't know that. I just remember the news being all about Dolly the sheep. And then one day, nothing ever came of it and no one ever talked about cloning again. There was no news articles.
There was some news about China, about a doctor that maybe did something cloning a child or something. I cannot remember, or doing something to remove. Oh my gosh. There was some news from China. I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll get a boost of Jurassic Park direwolf, and then all of a sudden the news just like evaporates, and we're just naturally bringing back extinct animals, and I didn't know it. That evidently is a pattern. Before we get to the end of this, I want to talk about OpenAI. We promised the listeners we would. You were there. You heard it firsthand. Let's talk about intellectual property and Sam Altman.
So on the TED stage, Chris Anderson welcomed Sam Altman, and it was right after Eric Schmidt from Google, right? And he gets on stage, and Chris starts talking about, OpenAI and what they've been doing. And one of the things Chris Anderson did, was it asked ChatGPT to create something in the form of peanuts, right? So it spread out, like it gave it back this like cartoon-looking thing where there are these little robots that look like Charlie Brown, like literally in the style of Peanuts, right? So Sam's sitting there and he says, they start talking about IP, about artists, right? And how artists are getting compensated. And, there was a lot of discussion on stage about not consenting to having your work being used to train some of these models, right? People did not consent. Like, I know it's trained on some of my books. Did I consent to that? No, I did not. I at this point, I let it go, right? Because I just feel like,
what are you going to do about it? You're going to go get a lawyer? Like,
what am I going to do? Like, plus I'm like, okay, well, maybe it'll I don't know. So when he was on stage, he literally reacted like, some people started to clap in support of artists owning their IP. And he literally said, I hope you, like, in a negative form, very defensively. And people can see this in the videos. I hope you guys enjoy that. And then kind of kept going on being defensive about IP and about how art is inspired on other people's art and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know. It just did not feel like an empathetic answer to a community of thinkers. There's many artists, there's many, many creative people there. We're all about ideas.
Okay. This is a real question though, because I think this comes to the crux of where a lot of like the technology, the angst, there's a growing angst between normal people and even the term tech bros, right? Like this is very, and you and I have both been in the technology space a very long time. We've worked for some really great technology companies. For me, I loved my time working at Intel. I thought they were an incredibly ethically driven company. At the same time, their CEOs like changed like revolving doors. They're just a company. So remove that out of it and look at like the big names in technology, those who start their companies and they run huge multi-billion-dollar, maybe trillion-dollar, tech firms. Can you name one empathetic technology leader?
I mean, I feel like Tim Cook can be a little empathetic.
Tim Cook didn't invent Apple.
No, he didn't. That's true. Okay, I'm not talking just CEO. I guess invent.
Like who? Like really? When you start looking at people who launched,
Ryan Tessie, maybe, I don't know. Did he? Well, I don't know.
There's a issue in technology where the technology outweighs the empathy for the people who use it, and it is that part that's missing that cause, I think, these moments of unrequited arrogance, right? Like it was an arrogant response to say, I hope you enjoyed that, because it was defensive, because he already thinks he won an argument. And maybe he has, but he's still human, right? Like, and so you have those moments of like human reaction.
Because I sent you the video. Like, what did you think when you saw it?
Just that. It was
like, I could feel in the audience just like people were just being like, what lack of like, I don't know, like what lack of empathy and respect for an audience of people that are full of ideas.
But I think that's true. That's true across the board for anyone in his position. I'm not defending what he did. I'm pointing out the fact that there's a bigger problem, right? That they're all assigned this ridiculous task that shouldn't actually go to a single human being. And therefore, when they're called out on something, there is this overreaction, because it's a tough situation to be in, that moment of admitting that, like, yeah, dude, your crap's stealing other crap. Like, or you have to shake it off and be like, it's not a big deal. And this, I don't know what you answer. Cause like the truth is everyone knows that AI exists by scraping other intellectual property and intellectual data.
You can't get around from that. I'm sorry. Like for general purpose models, yes, they have been trained on corpuses of content that other people created, right? On the internet.
And the whole thing is just, there's a looming question out there of like, and now what do you do about it? Because there is a bit of Pandora's box that's been open here. Now, that box is way more open than people realize, because at the same time, yesterday, ChatGPT comes out and says they've expanded their memory feature. It remembers everything. It isn't forgetting anything. The new memory feature allows ChatGPT to recall previous interactions across all of your sessions. It's persistent memory. The system takes these conversations and then they can make it more personalized. And there's a positive to it. It is kind of where you can go and say, hey, based on everything you know about me, can you tell me blah, blah, blah. And those are fun. They seem fun. I do them because it's just interesting to see.
Yeah, it's like a fun prompt. Let's see what it responds.
But if you really do kind of like extract that, you start realizing like, oh, this thing isn't forgetting any of it. Everything that I'm putting, and this leads to the question, is like, now everything that I'm putting into it is technically your intellectual property. When I created a username for this, I agree to the terms of service that you own this data. So if someone steals ChatGPT's data, DeepSeek, what's your defense then? Is that just, I hope you enjoyed that? Like, because that's effectively where this is all funneling to. It'll be strange to see how this pans out. I can see both sides of it.
Well, okay, now I want to go into like a not very, this is not a comfortable conversation to have, but it's
none of this has been a comfortable conversation. Where have you been?
No, but this one I think is relevant to the Take It Down Act, to some of the things we've been talking about related to AI and deepfakes. And there is a law in Pennsylvania that passed, and the first arrest has been done. This was of a 22-year-old man that had in his possession AI-generated child pornography, right? And that to me, obviously that's a lot to think through in the moment, but I still think we are going to need these types of laws because at the end of the day, like this was trained on other stuff. Like how does, I don't know. There's so much evil in all that. And I don't know.
It's hard. And the only way you can approach it for a show like this, right? And to have an open and honest discussion is to say, look at the data, right? Yes, it was trained on something. That something needs to have been understood on a deeper level. Let's remove the person from this for a moment, the person who was arrested, right? Like that in and of itself has its own psychological ramifications in that person.
22-year-old man. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so young.
Obviously needs help. And so you just have to remove that for a second and just look at, okay, there's a tool. That tool's been training on something. Where is that data living? How did it get access to that? Let's start and this is where if that tool is functioning on some type of image-based model, we need to understand that model better. And these things are being ignored. I don't know what the right answer is because we are seeing some movement. There's a Seattle watchdog that's been really pushing for police to set better AI policy because of things like this. Honor, we talked about last week, which is putting out a global AI deepfake detection tool, which I'm hugely excited to hear that someone's doing that. But then you get to a story like this and you're just like, I know who committed a crime. And let's be data driven here. That's a crime ? Because it hasn't been determined as a crime. It's kind of like, who was it? There was a hearing in, I want to say it was the 80s or early 90s, where they were discussing the argument of what defines pornography. And the answer was, I can't define it.
Larry Flint? That was Larry.
It was maybe it was that quote of, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it.
When I see it, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that honestly does kind of fit into this scenario because it's an AI generated image. Is this what we're saying this is? Well, you know it when you see it. So there's a lot to unpack on a story like this. And it almost immediately goes to a legal podcast that I am not qualified.
Yeah, we're not qualified from a legal perspective here. I just bring it up because I do think it's something that we've talked about the Takedown Act. We've talked about deepfakes. It's something that keeps popping up in a reality that is just getting closer and closer. And I even had this conversation at TED around the future of relationships. And I don't want to go down a crazy negative Black Mirror, but what if you have a robot and you decide you want to have relations with that robot and the robot mimics a child? There's a whole other level of heinousness and of just things that we're not thinking through that scare me. That scare me as a parent, that scare me as a human, that scare me as a woman, that we have to think about that are plausible at this point. We're seeing it, right? So I don't know.
Yeah. And it does go back towards a conversation of mental illness and how you go through treatment. And even that can get really kind of complex when you start looking at the different ideas of what mental illness treatment can look like for different scenarios and the use of generative AI for, exposure therapy and blah, 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 blah. I'm not just talking about this particular story. I'm talking about on a much broader scale. We've seen really positive use cases of addiction therapy through VR and AI generated worlds that is based around the concept of exposure therapy, so it's not it's all bad, but it does lead to a lot of these questions about the prosecution of real scenarios and virtual ones. Yes. And how we weigh that and how you weigh that with a legal system that doesn't understand how computers work.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Don't even get me started.
We still haven't caught up to that. And, it wasn't so long ago that we basically had all the social media CEOs sitting in Congress trying to explain
Senator, we sell ads. It's like, yes, that's how they make their money.
Yeah, the whole thing is behind the fence, behind the blocks on this, and we're not even out of the gate. I just am really hoping someone in the EU can set us on the right path.
Please
I keep saying that. I swear I say that every episode. Like, it's just like...
But that's interesting. I did have a conversation with folks from the EU that feel like they have too many barriers to innovation on a total, when it comes to AI. Like, let's leave.
Is that a bad thing?
To them, it is. But then
no, financially, that's the thing, right? The only reason it's bad to them is because they could be making more money, right? Like, that's really the only reason that barrier is bad to a person. And that, to me, doesn't justify the fence. Like, no, the fence is necessary. I'm sorry it's keeping you from making more money, but we need to do this smartly, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. It's complicated. Well, let's move on to something else. What else have we got on the docket?
I think my last one, I want to end on
one. Let's get it. Is it nice? Is it happy?
It is. It's super nice. It's super friendly. It is. It's a story about murder. So yes, it is fantastic.
Sorry, listeners.
It's a story about deceit.
Dark. It's like a Black Mirror episode. God.
It's about deceit and murder and addiction. This is where we are. Welcome to 2025.
Survive in 25. That's what I tell people. Survive in 25, whatever that means to you. But yeah.
No, it is a positive story. Among Us 3D. It's launching. See, it is about murder. It is about deceit.
It is about murder.
It's about game addiction.
I had so much fun playing that during the pandemic with my kids. Even my ex-husband. We had a blast playing that.
Among Us 3D, there's a new version coming out. For those who don't know, it's a super popular multiplayer video game. Comes out May 6, 2025, so right around the corner. Has cross-platform support for both VR and non-VR platforms. So that's huge. If they can pull this off, I could see this being the thing, like one of those games that tie from the Quest all the way to the Nintendo Switch. Because Among Us is on both, but they're not cross-platform. So seeing that word of cross-play support is a big deal. The update's going to include different game models, in-game proximity for voice chat, which has always been a big thing. And hey, now the Nintendo Switch does have voice chat. So hey, that could be really cool. And then limited special time events and things like that. Super popular game. I think this will be very successful and probably a big boon for headset manufacturers.
We should record one of our episodes in Among Us.
I would do that.
Yeah.
But you have to find me.
Well, can we be in the same server?
We can be. No, I know. But I'm saying in the game, like we're just like running around. No.
Well,
we could just do it in a lobby.
I will find you. Even if you're the imposter, just pretend not to be. And I'll pretend not to be either.
I said lies and deceit. See, told you.
Yeah, very good one, Lee. You had me there for a second. I was like, what story is this? What is he talking about?
So dark.
What other negative story do we have in our rundown? That was good. But
all right. So we're going to wrap it up here. I want to ask you, you've been off the show for a little while. You've been traveling a lot of time in airplanes. What are you reading?
I'm not reading much right now. I am prepping for Esther Perel. So Esther Perel, who's a very well-known relationship psychotherapist. She's been everywhere. She has an event coming up in New York called Mating and Meta Crisis that I'm going to be attending. I'm probably going to be the only futurist there. So very excited about that. So I've been just prepping for that. So I've been kind of doing audiobooks of Mating in Captivity, which is one of her books. So yeah, if anyone knows Esther Perel, they know her work is fantastic. So she's got a great podcast, Where Should We Begin? And I am preparing for that. It's a 2-day event. And it also includes like an immersive dinner, which I cannot wait to see what we mean by immersive dinner with Esther Perel. But yeah, I've been kind of just re-listening to one of her books and focusing on that. So,
well, here in Portland, I think around the nation, we actually had Record Store Day last week. And so I spent a lot of time in a bunch of record stores here in Portland. I found one of my favorite rock and roll icon records. You will appreciate this because as the godmother of the future, this woman is often hailed as the godmother of rock and roll. I don't know if you are familiar with Sister Rosetta Tharpe, but she actually, what made me think of utilizing this as the outro album suggestion today was I got wind that Lizzo is producing a biopic about Sister Rosetta Tharpe, and I've been wanting to see a movie based on this woman for like a decade since I discovered her. So yes, this is something that seems to be in the works right now. So I just want to introduce this album. It's called Gospel Train. Sister Rosetta Tharpe was a gospel singer, but she pioneered the electric guitar. I mean, you can find old footage of her in the 50s just ripping. She just did it. So this one was released December 1956, showcases just fusion of gospel, rhythm and blues, rock and roll. It really did like cement her as a pioneer of rock and roll. So yeah, it's got fantastic tracks you should check out. Up Above My Head, there's Music in the Air, and her song Jericho. They all highlight her ability to take like gospel music and rock and roll and just do an amazing show. So yeah, check out that album, Gospel Train, Sister Rosetta Tharpe. That's what I'm listening to. Found that record this week at a record store, so thought I'd pass it along. It's going to be I'm looking forward to the movie when it finally comes out.
Yeah, me too.
Hoping the best.
Go to the premiere. Let's get us invited to the premiere.
I'd love to see that film. I'm so excited to even know that it's in the works. Anyways, thanks for tuning in Tech Magic. We always invite you to come for the tech, stay for the magic. I'm Lee Kebler here with the incredible Cathy Hackl. Special thanks as always to Adweek for bringing this show to you. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to connect with you. You just simply have to search for Tech Magic, Cathy Hackl, or me, Lee Kebler, and you'll find us. We'll be back next week.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bullspend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Who knew Walmart Business could help a thriving office motivate their employees? Pamela knew. She uses Walmart Business to get the assortment of items her team needs at the prices she loves.
As the office manager, it's my job to make sure my team stays on top of their game. I can get the basics like cleaning supplies and paper towels, but what they really care about, snacks.
And she can get everything they need when they need it.
Greg loves wheat crackers, Brenda craves sour candy, and Max, oh boy, he needs protein bars and milk and applesauce
It's Walmart,
and jerky.
built for your business. Who knew?
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.